drawing your design or designing your drawing. Okay, so this is a concept that I can plan how my drawing is going to look at the end. So if I just start drawing, I'll mess it up and I have to keep doing it over. If not, I try to think about how it's going to look at the end, so I design my drawing. It's more of an architectural mentality. So steps to a design process, a possible process you could use to draw your drawing. Okay, so we're going to go through site analysis, vision, projections, all the way down to finishing up. So let's first look at the first section, which is site analysis, visions, program development, functional layouts. So here we go again, same thing we're seeing, bubble diagrams. Utilize your bubble diagram to help you identify connections. After your bubble diagrams, you can then take the bubble diagram and you'll look at the different systems relating to those bubble diagrams, from water to any of those other things. Once I do that, let's say I have my kitchen. Remember we said start or design at our kitchen. So this is going to be an actual design starting from the kitchen door. So there's the kitchen door that has a little kitchen door garden, and that's pretty much all that's there. There's no real elements. So the elements have not been added. There's no color. So this is the design status. It's a functional layout of what's existing. The design status is to basic areas of functional. So she wants to lay out first the basic areas. We're going to see that. The spaces are built and they're designed in relationship to one another. And she's going to configure and align her open spaces, and they're going to start to take place. So we're going to start to see this like a little drawing, like snapshots of a drawing being made. So at the end, we're going to see this drawing drawn in phases. Okay, that's the idea. So once we do that, again, she starts with this diagram. These were actual jobs that Keisha did. This is her work that she does as a professional, okay? But then how does that apply to her drawing her master plan for her project? Well, she starts here with the layout. Where is the access? So she's going to say that there's garden beds and how she's accessing her garden beds, and she has a pathway. She calls this with architectural terminology, okay, a basic line arrow flowchart as an overlay of the functional layout. Draw the access based on what you're functioning. Code these flows with different colors, possibly. So she could have had like an orange arrow and a green to show different zonal areas. Code these flows based on the frequency, trafficker using what she calls person, tractor, chicken. So is it an animal that uses this? It could be a different color. If it was a tractor, a people, pedestrian, car, tractor, animals. Different pathways. Okay, after that point, she wants to identify any type of important nodes. These are what I described to you as a focal point. So in this one, in this instance, she's adding a fire pit next to the pond that was already existing, and she's showing the importance of accessing the fire pit from the other areas on this drawing. Highlight which one you'd like to celebrate. So she wants to think about a focal point being an inspirational point, a heightened experience or a celebration within the design. When I see it, I get a feeling. I'm trying to elicit feelings or a focal point. And let me tell you tonight, guys, when I light up that bonfire, because I'm from Louisiana, now I know how to make a bonfire, okay? That is going to be one focal point. You know, it's Saturday. Oh, well, it's Friday night, but that's good enough for me. Never really need an excuse to have a bonfire and a beer, okay? So that's going to be a focal point, so think about it. We could have made Rosella wine, but we could make it, and by the time you get back for your residency, you'd have it, brother. You just got to push me. I'll do anything. Yeah. All right. Look for additional locations. So she has one, but are there any other focal points? And can we connect focal points to create an experience or a journey, one to the next, okay? At this point, she's going to explain, like, example, look at this. We have a central courtyard, which has a focal point. I build a courtyard, and there's a focal point between those buildings. This is used a lot in architecture. We can have entry gates and ways to access from here to here and then to the courtyard. And you can do this, and this is what's called nodal or focal point design. Designing from nodes out. Creating the focal point and designing around the focal points. So how do people do that? Well, we see it all the time. Whether it's a city making a roundabout with a statue, whether it's a garden with the focal point of the fireplace and or water feature, okay? Parks do this. You see the pathway going. So this is how landscape architects are trained to create focal points for us to interact with, and then that's how they're doing the designs. Here's other nice gardens where you have, whether it's a Buddha statue, a head feature, a fire pit, a nice nook or seating area off to the side. So once you do that, you can start to look at some points on pathways. I need to have access, and I need to have them sinuous. I need to understand texture, width, right? Curve, nature. So paths are always seen as functional. They're doing something. I need functional pathways. I need to understand what the path is supposed to do. If I need to get a car down it versus a tractor versus people versus wheelbarrows, and if I make a mandala and I make it where I can't get my wheelbarrow through, it's kind of not as functional as the side on the other side of my garden. That's a square foot gardening, right? That's very easy to get the wheelbarrow through. And honestly, guys, you guys can almost walk into our garden, go look really high and see which side gets taken care of more. The one that has better access, more functional beds. It's much more lush, much greener, lots more going on than the other one, which is highly more artistic, but not as functional, so it doesn't get interacted with as much. And the only thing that separates them is the center of the garden. So we want to play with that and maximize our acts. It maximizes the experience. Here we can see, within this thing that you have to understand, people are interacting with your design. You're creating their journey, their experience. We can use pathways that have character. They can be linear or organic, different textures, stones, patterns, colors. Use patterns from nature, like the tree form there that we see going through a park. Pretty interesting. Or to accommodate a turning radius. If I need to have a tractor with a trailer, how big does the turn have to be able to turn around? We have tour buses that come to Raktamachat when the schools come to visit or the universities, and at which time they have to get that bus in here and turn the bus around, so I built a big roundabout. So at this point, we have now these two focal points or nodals, and we have the turning radius. If I make the turn too tight, I can't turn, or I'll run off the road, or people will cut the corners, okay? So be careful about that in your design. What is the pathway and what radius is and what is utilizing that pathway? Here we can see like tractors with trailers, and you can figure out, and they have things to help you on internet, but basically a tractor with a trailer needs 5 meters to turn around, to turn back, or to make a roundabout. So when I got to take a 40-person bus and turn it around, I needed a big roundabout. So I want to have multiple functions. Statue. It just, this is permaculture. It's how we figured this out. And we needed to do other purposes, not just be a statue, because that would be great to honor Bill Mollison. But if we can take the piss literally on Monsanto, we have to take the opportunity to do that. So here we go. Designs with radiuses. So back to the design at hand, the one that we were trying. We have now sketched out. And I want you to notice something. The house is fixed. It's like, it's dark. I drew it. It's not moving. It's not like the house is going to move. It's fixed, right? But all the other designs are in process. They're being processed. So she drew it really, really, really light. She's just barely tracing with a pencil where those are going to be located, because she may change them. So design status currently, the movement patterns have been resolved. She knows where people are going to move or interact with her design. Spaces have become more refined for their zoning. Her primary pathways, the garden beds, the hard and softscapes have been placed. So she wants to do analysis. So now she comes back, she has laid those out, she has her analysis, she's going to get a color coding. She wants to add color at the end, she needs color code for what she's doing. So this is an overlay of her process. She starts seeing the landscape, she divides it into 3 separate surfaces: hard surfaces, soft surfaces, and water surfaces. And she has a color code for those. She's going to do analysis of those surface compositions. What are they? How are they working? And she overlays the movement drawing as a check. So she checks it. Okay, everything's good. Next step, she's going to revisit those, and she's going to break the surface legend or hard surfaces. She has a character legend for those different types of hard surfaces, different types of soft surfaces, and different types of water. Swales versus catchment, for instance. Ponds and swales have a different color blue. Considering softscapes or crops, lawns or forest has 3 different colors of could be green. And hardscapes, roads could be 3 variations of rock, which could be gray, dirt, and possibly, say, concrete. So here we go. Some pointers on drawing pathways on your drawing. You're not trying to draw them perfectly as what was done. You're trying to give representations. So her surface materials and her textures The paving patterns, okay, that she's going to use depend on your degree of detail you need to construe. Her pathway edging, is it soft or hard or dissolved edging? So are you going to use like, what are you going to use to edge your pathways? Lots of times in landscaping, we see people doing a border grass to edge pathways, so you have a dissolved feel. Some people like that hard angular, where they take the edger and they edge the pathway. What are you looking for? And can you draw out the foliar plantings that are going to be along the pathway? Since once I've laid out my pathway, I start to put in the plants that would be there. Understand the plant mass and structure, so how big it is and what does it look like, so that you can make the drawing. Begin to create your legend and your surfaces and characters. So there's some different ways that she could draw or represent paths. Okay? So at this point, she shows you a few. Here's a pathway, the brown represented, okay, and or through or under, so you can see the trees going over and how she can represent that the path is under the tree by changing the textures and colors with the pencil. After that, she could color it, and we start to see these types of more drawings that she had done. So here's her drawing. So she starts to put in the texturing. So she's put texture on the paths, and still very, very lightly, she started to put in some trees, super, super light. And she revisits it. Everything's okay. It's starting to look nice. She's done her analysis. She says, I'm pretty happy with this. Let's turn it into that one that I sell to someone. She starts to fill in colors. Still didn't put any really hard lines. She does it really soft. Super, super soft. So soft sketches to soft coloring. Next, she comes in hard colors, and then she uses a pen to trace outlines. So she had like really, she had a collection of pens, I guess. Had like this roller ballpoint pens. There's like little, looks like a needle with a little hole in it. So she only used a pencil, colored pencils, and then she used this like highlighter effect. So she would edge, like, so you see that tree, what's really, really dark? She'd do that with a pen. And then that gave that. So it went from, you know, this, just sketch, to colored, to that. And she did that just on her free time here while she did her master plan. And let me tell you, her master plan looked sweet. But that's just to show that she could do that. And that's it. And then she really brought it in, what she calls nearing completion. She calls it black outlining. So she outlines everything in black. She called that the eyeliner effect, which is a color touch-ups. So she does any touch-ups. And she went from there, done, to done. So it's, you know, a concept, that was what was there. That was her base map. And she brought a base map to a design concept, only utilizing what we might call some drawing techniques, okay? And pretty interesting to see that. She also showed you general pointers that we went through before, but like projections, which are section views. And you can also draw shadows there if you wanted to. It's not that common to draw your plan in angle with shadows, but you could show shadows if you wanted. Okay, gives a little bit of a more three-dimensional feel if you do shadows, but it's probably a little bit more advanced. All right? Because you could do a drawing of the sun at different angles and show the shadows on houses if you wanted to. So hopefully that brought you guys through a little bit more about the concept of drawing, layouts, and we'll tomorrow be working more in other details of systems. So now we're going to get out of master planning to a certain extent and try to transfer into systems, like looking at earthworks, looking at water, okay? These are major systems in their entirety that you'll be utilizing on a more system-based, okay?